Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mohonapriya and you're watching Updates at Noon. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim announced that the Sultan of Brunei, Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah, will be visiting Malaysia next week. It will be the Sultan of Brunei's second visit in 8 months ever since the Prime Minister took the helm of the Madani Unity government.
Mana dia khianat? Bagi tahu, tak mana khianat?
Datuk Seri Anwar said that during the Brunei Sultan's visit, several memorandums of understanding, including agreements on investment, would be signed, giving a positive impact to the country.
Minggu depan, Bahduli Yang Maha Mulia Tuanku Sultan Brunei akan melawat sekali lagi. Dalam 8 bulan saya Perdana Menteri 2 kali dia datang ke Malaysia. Dan datang dengan agenda. Nanti kita akan tanda tangani perjanjian termasuk pelaburan ke Malaysia. Sudah kita buat kerja. Pelaburan itu penting, kalau tidak fulus tidak ada.
The Prime Minister announced the matter at the Madani Unity Tour program and launch of the Negeri Sembilan Unity machinery in Port Dickson last night.
Pimpinlah kami sekalian.
The first Starlink device was delivered by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim to UiTM Kuala Pilah, making it the first higher education institution to utilise the technology. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said this is a short-term measure before a more long-term solution is proposed.
Saya difahamkan pihak UiTM juga sedang menunggu peruntukan untuk menyelesaikan masalah apa disebut sebagai Wi-Fi access point. Poin-poin di sekitar kampus yang perlu dipasang dengan Wi-Fi router. Ini mengambil masa, jadi sementara waktu kita akan gunakan Starlink. Ini adalah unit pertama yang beroperasi di seluruh negara dan UiTM yang dapat the first one. Ya, dan insyaAllah dalam tempoh beberapa bulan kita akan dapatkan sedikit maklum balas daripada pihak UiTM untuk lihat keserasian dan juga kesesuaian untuk kita laksanakan bagi tujuan stopgap measure, penyelesaian interim sementara, menunggu penyelesaian yang lebih menyeluruh.
He added that the ministry is also discussing with other ministries regarding the identification of rural areas which need the satellite internet service. Aside from that, the initiative is also believed to open up more opportunities to students to enjoy 5G internet, which will revolutionize their experience of online learning. The government will refurbish dilapidated houses and build new ones for People's Volunteer Corps members, especially those under the Very Poor People's Housing Programme nationwide in the near future. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the allocation amount would depend on the total number of recipients to be presented by RELA Director General Datuk Yahya Sulaiman in the next 2 weeks at the latest for approval.
Data satu rumah untuk baiki itu maksimum 17,000. 17,000. Untuk membina baru itu hampir 70,000. Tapi kita mengikut Ketua Pengarah tadi, dia nak lebih banyak lagi, kita baiki dulu. Rumah-rumah yang ada itu sebagai keutamaan kepada rela.
In addition, the government will also use the kasih list to identify recipients of the initiative. He told this to reporters after attending the Mesra Rahmah program with Rela Negeri Sembilan, which was also attended by Deputy Home Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Shamsul Anwar Nasara yesterday. Meanwhile, a total of 448 projects to repair and maintain the Malaysian Armed Forces or ATM quarters will be implemented nationwide. It involves an additional allocation of 200 million ringgit recently announced by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Defence Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan said his ministry gave priority to critical repair work of ATM quarters nationwide.
Dan kita memberikan keutamaan untuk pembaikan-pembaikan yang amat diperlukan dulu ya. Kita bagi keutamaan kepada yang memang kritikal. Jadi 248 448 projek semuanya. Iaitu untuk kita membaik pulih, membaik taraf, ada tak bocor, ada air tak ada, macam-macam ya.
He said the ministry will also appeal to the Ministry of Finance to relax the conditions to facilitate the process of carrying out these projects so that they can be completed by the end of this year. The projects will be managed by the Royal Army Engineers Regiment in each state and will be monitored by the teams to ensure they run smoothly. The 5 bridges along the federal road connecting Bandar Baharu and Kulim, which are being upgraded, are expected to be completed on time. Works Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalingi said that currently the replacement and widening works of the 5 bridges have recorded a progress of between 25 to 78%. The bridges will be widened from the RT standard to R5, increasing the level of safety, especially in locations with bends to be completed within 24 months. The project is funded by the federal government, involving an allocation of 71.6 million ringgit. The project is also in line with the Kedah Development Plan 2035, with the North Corridor Highway and expansion of the Kulim High-Tech Park, which has begun in phases.
Jadi projek ni ada mengalami kelewatan sikit lah. Jadi jangkakan siap sekarang 1 Mac tahun 2024 lah, tahun depan. Dia kena tambahan masa dia kerana COVID pun ada, kerana kerja-kerja mengalihkan utility pun ada dan sebagainya. Jadi kita berpuas hati lah. Tengok nampak sekarang kerja-kerja yang berat tu semua dah lengkap, dah sedia. Cuma nak melengkapkan lagi lah, nak finishing off lah kata orang. Ya. Jadi kita agak puas hati lah dengan progres projek ini.
The Department of Islamic Development Malaysia JAKIM is working closely with the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC to curb the spread of deviant teachings by an individual known as C. Hulk. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Religious Affairs, Dr. Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, said the International Criminal Police Organisation, or Interpol, is also needed to track down C. Hulk, who is believed to be currently residing in New Zealand.
Saya kerap berurusan dengan Tansi IGP, Deputy IGP Datuk Ayub Khan untuk kita pantau mereka-mereka yang membawa ajaran sihat ini. Sebab tu saya ingat mereka ni berani buat video macam tu sebab dia tidak ada dalam negara. Sebab dia tahu kalau berada dalam negara, mungkin polis dan bahagian penguasa boleh cekup dia orang. Jadi apa dia orang buat? Dia orang duduk mungkin berada di luar negara. Jadi yang tu saya serahkan kepada kebijaksanaan PDRM dalam konteks kita polis Interpol ni kita ada hubungan macam tu, so mungkin yang itu mungkin telah dan akan diaturkan oleh pihak bahagian risikan PDRM.
Datuk Dr. Muhammad Naim also advised social media users to stop making the videos viral and immediately report them to the authorities. 2 elderly people died in a 3-vehicle road accident involving 2 cars and a bus in Taman Nisa Setiawan early this morning. The victims who died were aged 79 and 68 years old. Perak Fire and Rescue Department Assistant Director Sabarozi Nur Ahmad said the bus driver and 12 passengers in the vehicle are safe. The 2 elderly victims, who were the driver and passenger in a Proton Persona, were stuck in their vehicle and were declared dead at the scene by medical personnel. Meanwhile, another individual in the 3rd vehicle, a Proton Saga, did not suffer any injuries. The bodies of the 2 dead victims have been sent to Hospital Sri Manjung for further action. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. Coming up in the foreign segment, Typhoon Doxori smacks southern Taiwan as China braces for landfall.
Perkembangan kognitif dan pertumbuhan fizikal kanak-kanak sihat yang optimum bertitik tolak dari 1000 hari pertama kehidupan.
You're watching Updates at Noon. A small passenger boat has capsized in a lake close to the Philippine capital, killing at least 26 people on board and leaving 6 missing. Now, the accident happened yesterday at Laguna Lake near Manila, hours after Typhoon Doxori had swept out of the northern Philippines. Coast Guard spokesman Rear Admiral Armando Balilo said the wooden outrigger encountered strong winds, prompting all passengers to panic and move to one side of the vessel. Balilo said the boat had clearance to sail as there was no more storm in the area. It was believed that the passenger boat was making its regular run from the municipality of Binangonan to the island of Talim in the middle of the lake. So far, Balilo said rescuers retrieved over 20 bodies from the water, and there were 40 survivors. By nightfall, rescuers had righted the boat and dragged it close to shore, where its yellow hull sat in shallow water. A broken motorcycle cargo and soiled pieces of tarp were draped over it. Boats, including wooden outriggers and passenger ferries that provide transport between islands, had been ordered to shore in Luzon and Central Islands earlier in the week due to gale warnings as the typhoon intensified the southwest monsoon. Now, after rampaging in the Philippines, Typhoon Doxori next battered Taiwan's Kinmen Island earlier this morning, bringing heavy rain and strong winds as the storm made its final push to southeastern China. Local media has reported that the typhoon has toppled trees and left thousands of homes without power in southern Taiwan, prompting authorities to shut businesses for a second day. More than 300 domestic and international flights were suspended and railway services between southern and eastern Taiwan were halted. As of 7:15 a.m., Typhoon Doxori, categorized as the second strongest typhoon level by Taiwan's Weather Bureau, headed towards China's southeastern province of Fujian after crossing the Taiwan Strait with maximum winds of 191 kilometers per hour. As many as 36 people have been killed this week during Doxori's transit off the northern Philippines. At least 8 people were killed and nearly a dozen were injured after a grain silo explosion at an agricultural cooperative in southern Brazil. The government of Kerana state, where the incident occurred, and the company involved said yesterday. The blast happened at the Silva cooperative in the small town of Palotina, about 600 kilometers from the state's capital, Curitiba. Kerana is one of Brazil's top farm states. Kerana Governor Darcy Piana said the main concern is currently the victims who have died, as well as one more person who is missing.
Nós estamos trabalhando o mais rápido possível, com o maior apoio possível, tanto da empresa quanto do município. Nós temos aqui servidores municipais também nos auxiliando, quanto todas as corporações empregadas.
Silva said in a statement that the cause of the explosion cannot be determined at this time, as rescue workers were still looking for a missing person. A company spokesperson said 7 of those who died were foreign workers, mostly Haitians, and 1 was Brazilian. Now, the US and its allies are grappling with how to avert a global food crisis following Moscow's withdrawal from the Black Sea grain deal and its subsequent attacks on Ukraine's ports and storage facilities. To keep Ukraine's massive farming industry afloat and with the harvest only a few months away, US and Western officials are looking for any options to increase storage capacity and whether any more grain, wheat or barley can be driven or railed out of Ukraine. Over the past several days, a number of urgent meetings have been convened by organizations including the United Nations, NATO and the European Commission. There have been new pledges of support for Ukraine's agricultural industry, including a new $250 million commitment from the U.S. Agency for International Development. But officials acknowledge that none of those solutions will be able to replace the millions of tons of food Ukraine was able to export from its deep water ports. Since leaving the grain deal on 17th July, Russia has unleashed a flurry of attacks on grain supplies in key Ukrainian cities, including the port city of Odessa, wiping out 60,000 tons of grain, enough to feed 270,000 people for a year. Over in the US, Phoenix officials unveiled air-conditioned solar-powered homes converted from shipping containers on Thursday, which they hope could provide one long-term solution to the homeless. The city partnered with the non-profit group St. Vincent de Paul and Steel Spark to build the X-Wing, which consists of 4 40-foot steel shipping containers in the shape of an X with private air-conditioned 5-foot by 8-foot rooms. 20 current residents of St. Vincent de Paul's Washington Relief Center will move into the new units for temporary housing, while still having access to all the resources available at the center, like restrooms, showers, meals, and other services. Temperatures in Phoenix have reached over 43 degrees Celsius for 28 consecutive days, setting a new record. Jessica Berg, Chief Program Officer at St. Vincent de Paul, who has seen firsthand the effects of the heat on the homeless, said the pavement could get to over 82 degrees Celsius, and sometimes people arrive to the shelter with third-degree burns. Environmental campaigners in southwest Turkey protested in a forest for a fourth day on Thursday against the felling of trees to make way for a coal mine's expansion, with a lawyer saying 14 people have been detained this week in clashes with police. Armoured vehicles and security forces were deployed to block protesters from entering the woodland in Mughla province. An activist said police had sporadically fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse them since Monday. In 2020, the Forestry Ministry granted permission to Turkish company YK Energy to expand the mine to 780 acres of forest in the Akbelen area. The court has not yet ruled on a lawsuit filed by locals challenging these permissions. Locals sought an injunction and started a vigil in the forest in 2021. However, a court lifted a stay of execution in 2022, and an official from one of the companies involved said there was no legal obstacle to their actions. Activists say the Akbelen forest will be totally destroyed by 31st July if the deforestation continues. Up in sports, Nigeria stuns co-hosts Australia to deliver major shock at Women's World Cup. But first, SEA Games champion Ng Jing Suen added another feather to a cap after triumphing in the Malaysian Ladies Amateur Open MLAO at the Templer Park Country Club in Rawang. The 15-year-old did it in style by firing a hole-in-one on the par 3 8th hole en route to closing with a 2 under 70 and signing off with a 2 under 214 total. It earned her a comfortable 5-stroke victory over her 3 closest competitors, including national number 2 Mirabel Ting, who won the Vietnam Ladies Amateur Open a fortnight ago. Mirabel fired the tournament's lowest score of 69, but it came a little too late as she was left ruining a pair of dismal 77 and 73 in the opening 2 rounds.
The ball was like straight to the pin and I was like, whoa, it went in. I was like, wow, okay. And then like I told myself to calm down because I still have like 10 more holes to go. So yeah, and basically I just calm myself down and like do whatever routine and everything that calms me down and keep myself calm every single time.
Jing Suen is also the first local winner in 6 years after Nur Duriah Damian in 2016. A pumped-up Jing Suen also hoped to achieve back-to-back victories when she competes in the RSGC Ladies Amateur Open at the Royal Selangor Golf Club next week. The Continental Giants, who will be playing in the Asian Champions Trophy 2023 hockey tournament in Chennai, India from 3rd to 12th August, are not expected to exhibit their true fangs. National team head coach A. Arul Selvaraj said it is because all the teams will keep their real strength for the Asian Games in Hangzhou, China from the 23rd September to 8th October. The Asian Games offers an early slot to the Paris 2024 Olympic Games for the gold medal winners. Arul said only China, Pakistan and hosts India are likely to show their best, while the other teams in the six-cornered tournament will face it as their final preparation for the Asian Games. Arul said the Speedy Tiger squad will try to get good results in every match, although no targets have been set, as it will boost the confidence of the players. At the same time, he wants to be careful not to show all the team's tactics and secrets, such as attack style and penalty corner strategy, to avoid being sniffed by the opposing teams. Based on the announcement of the list of players by National Team Management Committee Chairman Datuk Najmi Razak, prolific striker Muhammad Fitri Sari and midfield pillar Abdul Khalik Hamirin have returned to don the national jersey. The Speedy Tiger squad, ranked 10th in the world, will begin their campaign against Pakistan on the 3rd of August. Former Spain international David Silva announced his retirement on Thursday, days after suffering an anterior cruciate ligament or ACL injury in pre-season training with his club Real Sociedad. The 37-year-old midfielder injured his left knee earlier in July while training ahead of his 4th season with the La Liga club. One of his generation's finest playmakers, Silva had trophy-laden spells in the Premier League, La Liga and the Spain national team. He won major trophies, which include the World Cup in 2010 and the European Championship twice with Spain, while he won the Copa del Rey twice, one with Valencia in 2008 and his last trophy with Sociedad in 2020. However, his most successful club spell came with Manchester City, where he won the Premier League 4 times, the FA Cup twice, and 5 League Cups in a decade-long stay from 2010 to 2020. An academy product of Valencia, Silva has more than 120 goals and almost 200 assists in nearly 750 club appearances, while netting 35 times in 125 appearances for Spain. He was also honoured with a statue outside City's Etihad Stadium in recognition of his contribution to the club's success after his departure in 2020. Updates from the Women's World Cup. Nigeria produced the first major shock of the Women's World Cup as they stunned Australia 3-2 on Thursday to leave the co-hosts' tournament hopes on thin ice. Asisat Oshoala volleyed into an open goal in the 72nd minute to seal a deserved win for the Africans after Uchenna Kanu cancelled out Emily Van Egmont's opener on the cusp of half-time, and Osinachi Chale nudged Nigeria ahead off the break. Australia cut the deficit to 1 goal when Alana Kennedy knotted home a header in the 10th minute of stoppage time, but Nigeria rode out the final seconds to claim one of their finest wins in their 9th appearance at the global showpiece. The win in front of a huge crowd at Lang Park put Nigeria top of Group B level with Canada on 4 points, but ahead on goal difference. The 11-time African champions eliminated Ireland in their last group match. The Matildas must now beat Canada in their last match to guarantee qualifying for the last 16 at a tournament where they fancied themselves among the chief title threats. Meanwhile, England coach Sarina Wiegman said her players will look to enforce their dominant style of play against Denmark when the two sides meet later today in Sydney. England and Denmark meet in their second FIFA Women's World Cup match off the back of respective 1-0 victories against Haiti and China. England's Lionesses failed to sparkle in beating debutantes Haiti 1-0 thanks to a penalty, but they are still among the favourites to deny the United States an unprecedented 3rd title in a row. Having spent the week discussing their ruthlessness, Wiegman said their plan is to have a ball a lot and play their style of game, then dominate. Victory against the Danes would see England have 1 foot in the last 16 and could even qualify depending on what happens in the other Group D match today between China and Haiti in Adelaide. Meanwhile, Denmark coach Lars Sondergaard told his players that it would be a mortal sin not to relish playing European champions England at the Women's World Cup. With the majority of the Sydney crowd also likely to be behind Sarina Wiegman's side, Sondergaard said that his team were undoubted underdogs against superpower England. Denmark are ranked 13th in the world to England's 4th, but he said on the eve of the match that they hoped they could spring a surprise. England would particularly be wary of Denmark's versatile captain Pernille Harder, who spent 3 years with Chelsea before recently moving to Bayern Munich. The 30-year-old Harder hopes that intricate knowledge of the opposition will give the Danes an advantage. Half a dozen of the Danish team play in England, and Harder knows many of the Lionesses well from her Chelsea days. In contrast, she said that they knew almost nothing about China, who they defeated 1-0 with that 89th minute winner to start their World Cup.
Perlawanan bola sepak Liga Super 2023. Pertembungan sengit terus menggegar aksi perlawanan dalam memburu tahta kejuaraan. Sabtu 29 Julai, Johor Darul Takzim bertemu Selangor FC 8.30 malam di saluran OK dan saluran Sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara pensterima langsung di RTM Klik.
And that concludes today's edition of Updates at Noon. In our top story today, PDRM seeking Interpol's assistance in tracking down cult leader. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia Madani, Tikat Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan. Thank you for your company.